Hello and welcome to another episode of Alan Writes. This is number 31 of the Winter of Truth, and we're going to be picking up where we left off, although I am not picking up where I left off because I've had a bit of interruption from my normal cycle of writing, and I couldn't get around it. It's one of those things. You have to set aside time sometimes, and if you can't find it during the day, then you find it during the next. But the important part is to keep going, even though I may have lost the thread of this, which is unfortunate. But there we are. So we are in chapter 9. She's meeting with the rebels. They realized her time was up by watching her on the way home. The question is, do I want to use the rebels we've met before here? And I think the answer is probably not. Just because, well, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it would if this was a movie. If this was a movie, then the rebels she had met on Hoth would show up here, and she would have to sort of deal with them and everybody else. But logistically speaking, in the way the rebellion works, and the way spying works, and how you try to flip people, you don't generally use operatives and agents interchangeably. There are those who do, and those who fight. For example, the same reason you wouldn't pull say a Green Beret off the front lines and have them do an interrogation back in D.C. It strains credulity. There are experts in their fields, but you use them in their fields. So I am going to use what's his name? Let's see. The Diomite, we didn't use that. They're the race of bad people that I just created for this. Whatever, they're aliens. And there's plenty of aliens in Star Wars. Let's see, what was his name? It's good to meet you. Heron Todd. I mean, that's just a name he's using, but he'll use it again for her because she knows him by that. She came about with the. She came back around. Pain and cold returned to her as pain and cold, but this time as a departing guest, and not an unwelcome time, and not permanent. No. I'm being overly exotic with this opening for when she returns. The world was bitter, with the tang of electricity. And I will dig deep into with the tang of electricity. I will dig deep into my own recollections of stirring from anesthesia for my one operation that I've ever had. And that was, well, the trouble is the stunner is not stun bolt is not exactly a taser shot, nor is it anesthesia. So what it is just, it's going to be a brief unconsciousness with a tang of electricity as she felt the world return. Her arms wouldn't work, and her leg was spasming, which you would expect because it's a cybernetic. And something was yanking on her hip. on her hip, bashing against her leg. People were almost shouting nearby. No. A concerned voice called out, piercing the not fuzzy, the hazy. The hazy moment. Is that normal? It asked. She's got a fake leg. She's got a fake leg. I don't know. Seizure? Happen. Stun bolts aren't perfect. And they're not. People can die from being tased, and tased are supposed to be like non-lethal weaponry. And non-lethal for certain stun bolts aren't perfect. A man's voice answered. She's got a fake leg. It's alright, she's got a fake leg. It's alright. She's got a fake leg. She's got a fake leg. A low-pitched line rose up. The her body seized. The world grew. Yeah, you can see I'm struggling on this. Well, it's very specific turns of how things are going. There's a bit of drain of electricity with a tang of a storm. She opened an eye just in time to see the blaster fire. The blue halo of a stun bolt flying out to strike her hip. This time, she didn't pass out. The world jerked and spasmed. Her lungs burned. When she could breathe again. Then it was gone. Cool air rolled in, and gasping breaths followed. Okay, what do we want here? We want to introduce some of the characters. Seems necessary. Seems unnecessary. Seems unnecessary. A third voice said. That seems unnecessary then. What's the alternative? What's the alternative? Letting her rise. The crisp voice answered. She opened her eyes again. Would they have blindfolded her? There were 3 of them. 2 men and a woman. Two men and a woman. It's alright, she's got a fake leg. 2 men and a woman. The woman held the blaster. The others The woman held the blaster. 1 man, thin, held the binders. The 3rd, she sort of knew. And I've already forgotten his name. Isn't that great? This is the way it is with writers when you don't write something down. Let's go back up to the top. And no, the DT troopers, no, yeah. Heron. Todd Heron. He was the rebel agent she'd met in the, and again, what did I call them? What did I call them? There's a lot of back and forth, and I apologize for that, but this is also very much the way it is. Durban, cheese, yeah. The Knoxwell. The one who'd caused so many problems just by being there. You. She managed to say. Yeah, me, he replied as the binders went on her hands. I'd say I'm sorry about this. But I'm not. You work for the Empire. You work for the Empire. You work for the Empire. Kuwait Yards. She replied. Wasn't anything she could do about that. All right, now let's. She's obviously going to be having a moment here. She's going to be kind of triggered, especially with the binder, and felt her rage rising. It was the binders that did it. Standard design used all over the galaxy. For Kuwait Yards. Who does work for the Empire. The Empire. So the thin-looking man said to her, not yet. Said to her as check the bindings. You're involved. Makes you a legitimate target. Do your worst. Long past fear. She replied, looked him straight in the eye. He was the first. The thin man cleared his throat, stepped back. She has recovered. So I see. The woman said, her blaster stayed in hand. Her blaster, a model. I'm gonna make it a riot model. Stayed steady. So, we're here to talk. We're here to talk. Miss Deschamps. You going to at least pretend to listen? What's my alternative? My alternative? Finara replied. The woman switched the blaster setting off from stun, and the cold and the ominous whine of a fully charged blaster shot resounded in the chamber. Rose up. Blaster bolt. A charging blaster bolt. Fine, I'll listen. Good. Dav, you tell her. You tell her what we want. Good. Tell her what we want. So we're gonna have Todd, Dav, and what's gonna be her name? What's gonna be her name? Do I got a good name down here? The answer is maybe. Lenore? Lenore? I'll take Lenore. Todd, the charming rebel she met. Dav, the tech guy. And right now, again, this is first draft stuff, so these are all just people. We don't know too much about them because we just met them, and we may not realize too much about them, other than Lenore seems to know what she's doing. Dav is technically related and formal, crisp, intelligent. And Todd, of course, is the charmer of the group. Fine, good. We know you have access to the computers. We know you have access to the computers, to the data storage in Kuwait yards. You have access to the engineering data storage in Kuwait yards. Also know you were part of the Hoth expedition. The recent Hoth expedition. We also know what we want is the data from the battle and your recommendations. Any recommendations. It's data from the battle and any recommendations. Any recommendation. And any recommendations for technical changes to the Imperial forces. She said. Anything else? We prefer your cooperation. We prefer your cooperation. But I work for the Empire. But I work for the Empire. She said and tilted her head toward the thin man. We can come to an arrangement. We can come to an arrangement. One said, Todd, explain it. Explain it like you did to me. I'll need some raga stew and bread meal. Bread meal then. Todd. The rebel she knew. Brushed up against in the before times. Said, the joking grin. No one laughed. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll, Finara. Todd. Yeah. That's me. He replied. Do you remember me? Do you remember me? From the Knoxwell? From the trench? That restaurant? With the racconi and cheese? remember you. You gave me lots of problems. You gave me lots of problems. You gave me lots of problems. Problems. You gave me lots of problems. Finara said. Yeah? Finara. Thumped her bound hands against her life, her immobile cybernetic. Did you cut off her? Yeah. The thin man looked to Todd. Did you cut off? Did you cut off her leg? No. I just talked to her, Todd replied. Okay. Well, let's trying to figure out who's going to talk in what sequence and make it interesting. Look back to the woman. Lenore. I just talked to her. That's all. Initial contact. Enough to get her name and confirm her job. And confirm her job. Keep talking. Keep talking. Lenore told Todd. And Master never wavered from Finara the whole time. It's like this, Finara. He said, Todd said, I got you in trouble, right? Just by talking with you. And you lost your leg? Frostbite. Finara said. So you did go to Hoth. So you did go to Hoth. She snorted at that. They had just been guessing about the Hoth expedition. They didn't know everything. Maybe they didn't know anything. Maybe. So, got you in trouble before. How about I get you in even more? Todd said. I can leave messages for you. I can insert you into our tradecraft, making it seem like you were an agent all along. After all, if they suspected you before, it was extortion. Extortion, then, Finara said. That's such an unpleasant term. Let's say it'll be in your interest to it's extortion, Lenore said, as Finara turned to look at the woman. We want something you have access to, Stu, and we won't give you something you don't want. In return. Understand? I understand. What is it you do want? Finara asked. There was a pause afterward. Oh, I thought we'd just jump past all the threats and okay, I'll jump past all the threats and subtle insinuations. Get to the heart of the matter. You want something. You want something. Something I can give. Something I can give. There's only a few things that I have access to that would, something I can give. What is it? Is it Dav? Tell them what we want. I said. Can I sit up? Finara asked. It was a small favor, and one she had asked about in other interrogations. Sometimes the smallest thing could seem like the largest concession. It's my leg. It's my leg. It weighs me down. They let her sit up. She took a moment. She took a moment to consider her cybernetic. It had shut down. There was no smoke. No smoke. No sparks. It was shut down, but she figured she could restart it. Later, obviously. If there was a later. Dav crouched beside her. You've got access to the schematics, to assessment reports. You know, I know the weak points of the AT and ATST. I know the weak points of the AT and ATST. She said. She replied. Not the Star Destroyers. Not the Star Destroyers. Not the Star Destroyers. Not the Star Destroyers. Patrol ships. Or small patrol ships. Nothing that goes into orbit under its own power. I'm aligned with the Army. I'm aligned with the Army. But Kuwait Yards is naval. It's naval. Yeah, I know. It's complicated. Finara replied. So, you want the latest battle assessments? I did a presentation at Army HQ just a few weeks ago. That'd be great. That'd be great. Dad said. There's got to be some juicy. There's got to be some juicy bits in there. Yes and no, Finara replied. It mainly devolved into a spat about how one soldier could take down an armored, take down a walker. Take down a walker. The three stared at her. Didn't you hear? Somehow, Skywalker. Somehow, didn't you hear? Did you hear? Skywalker. Skywalker did it. From the ground? Lenore asked. Yeah. It was footage. It was footage. There was a clean copy. There was a clean copy. You see him go up and see him come down. And the walker explodes. Then the walker explodes. So, you want data and you'll leave me alone? Leave me alone? That's the offer. Finara said. Forever? Probably not. But at least you'll be clear for a while. Okay. Now we're putting Finara in a bind, and she's going to have to figure her way out of this. I know how she's going to figure her way out of this. This has kind of now become kind of boring for me once the creative part of it is laid out. But you got to keep writing. If you don't keep writing, you don't finish the story. You don't finish the story, then it never really happened. Things that are forgotten are forgotten. Things that are remembered are remembered. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave it off here. Finara's now going to try to negotiate and bargain or something like that and figure out where she stands at this. And they're going to leave. The binders are going to pop off. And I mean, she's going to have those, but whatever. That's not proof of anything. And now she's going to figure her options. They strike a bargain and leave. Finara is left to figure things out. What next? Submit. Submit to the rebels. Go to the ISB. Go to Telok. Something else. She has to get the info. The ISB is useless. Telok is useless. She gets the info and then considers a different tack. And that'll be a very, hopefully, tense scene where she has to go and get the info. And then perhaps partway through she's going to realize that Telok deserves to be part of this. After he tells her there is no leaving Kuwait Yards and his protection. She's part of his world. Unless she wants to be part of the ISBs. Alright, and that's Telok's threat. And I'm not sure how I'm going to weave this together, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Somehow. And tomorrow, perhaps. So, this has been Alan Wrights. I hope you've enjoyed this bit of the Winter of Truth as we hash things out. We have, in this half hour, we have gotten 2 pages. That's not bad. It's not a bad pace, considering. All right, but as ever, stay safe and take care out there. Thanks.